Happy New Year, everybody. Jai Hind. This is Team Hindvi, straight from one of the many campuses from Delhi University. This is Anushka Upadhyay, and
This is Shrishti Mishra.
so after entering this new year with a bang, and India, as we know, as the land of festivals, after Sankranti, we are entering into a new festival, that is Festival of Democracy, with another election lined up on 5th of February in form of Delhi elections.
And we today want to discuss to you about the conversations that surround the elections of Delhi, right? Because Delhi is central to India, now we can use some templates that function for the elections of Delhi, and we can extrapolate that to the central elections that we just witnessed in 2024. So the agenda for this conversation is going to be an unfiltered conversation, as it is always at Hindvi. And just a disclaimer that this is not a political analysis of the Delhi elections or of the polls of Delhi elections. It's just a conversation between two students who are studying political science closely, and hence we would like to put our brains to the matters of reality, and hence we are trying to analyze it.
So basically, we can say that this video that we are presenting, we are just trying to trace that what Delhi as a center and what Delhi elections as the central elections at this point can lead, how new trends can emerge from these elections, not just for the political parties but as electors ourselves, what we can learn from these elections, and how we can actually emerge with new topics that we should maybe pose to our political parties.
Yeah, I think as first time electors ourselves, we as the new generation of electors, what do we see as a topic of conversation, right? Because all of us in Delhi are massively aware of the problems that are a part of Delhi, and as being people who reside in the capital of the territory, we also know what the problems in the general election, the matter should have been raised. I feel like we've not raised enough topics as the youth of this country. So I feel like this conversation would be our contribution to charge the conversations that electors need to take real good emphasis to. So basically, what we can start with is what me and Anushka have identified is that there are three basic facets on what we need to talk about when it comes to any kind of election, but Delhi election per se. We have termed it as three P's. Three P's being pollution first, policy second, and people third. Pollution, I think it is self-explanatory that the AQI levels in Delhi have been so far gone that grab 3, grab 4 is like the new normal for us. And every winter season is like the new mask season for us. Which again is a running joke between me and Anushka, because she comes from Varanasi, so very good AQI, and then she has to come all the way back to Delhi, which is, I don't know, she can explain her experience about that.
Okay, so not taking this any lightly, this issue is a very grave
Absolutely.
problem, not just in Delhi, in a lot of parts of the country. So what we together discussed on a very length, that why not pollution is a very national issue. Why every time we talk about Delhi elections that we address pollution?
Exactly.
I mean, Mumbai has pollution. Varanasi also has pollution. Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, any state is not free of pollution because of the population that we have. So the density of pollution is going to be higher. Then why is it not a national issue per se?
And just not just about Delhi elections. Again, this is why we're trying to identify a common theme between Delhi elections and central elections, is because environment in general hasn't been a topic for electors for so long. Even after in 2024 we witnessed the one of the most hottest summers this year. It was absolutely, breathtaking in that sense. We are soaring temperatures, and still we don't have environment as a matter of elections. The constant theme of central elections are, as we see, is either caste or religion, very less talk on economy. So I think taking Delhi as a template, we can kind of extrapolate this to the central, and we can figure out a political culture for Delhi and for India. What changes can we do as Gen Z voters or Gen Z electors in the matters of politics?
And more in general, because we are focusing on climate change so much because these two trees behind us aren't going to save the entire country, and we need a dedicated population to talk about it, especially in a time where a lot of people are refuting climate change as a hoax by some people. But it is real because you and I are facing the brunt of it. People sitting in their AC rooms might not, but we definitely are. And with that, we move to the second P.
which is policy. Okay, so just going by the policies that are present in Delhi, we obviously, as Delhiites, I think we can notice a lot of changes which are very good, such as the education sector in Delhi. Kudos to the policy heads in Delhi government, because the way they have structured education for the government schools in Delhi is absolutely incredible. I think Delhi government school model can be taken as an example for other states' education development as well. Again, there have been massive developments in healthcare. One thing I feel as a Delhiite is lacking is public sector involvement, as we can say, the public service delivery that we study as a component of our papers. I don't think Delhi government is so efficient in public service delivery. What do you think, Anushka?
See, I have been in Delhi for just 2 years, and not living at home, a lot of my facilities come from my landlord. So in that aspect, I'm not very familiar with how public service delivery works in Delhi.
Yeah.
But on a national issue, I'm basically going to talk about national issue at this point because I'm not particularly a resident of Delhi.
Yeah.
But definitely this has to be taken up on a national issue, as a national level as well, because this issue not only targets Delhi and Delhiites but the entire country, and not a lot of political parties are putting this forward. Even if they're doing an extravagant job with it, they are not endorsing it enough. And
Yeah.
people who are in opposition, if suppose one party is not doing such a good job for public service, but nobody is questioning it also. So as a voter, I think that we need to emerge as the people who point it out, right?
Right. And since we are at the end of receiving those public service, we have to realize that India is a welfare state, right? So all of its success is going to come from people. And if you don't deliver those services to people, then I don't think there should be an expectation on people to make it good in the economy, right? So this is one thing that really needs to be addressed, the welfare of the people. Whether it is for Delhi, whether it is for a central election, the welfare of people needs to be considered, because we have constitutionally defined ourselves as a welfare state. So that is one thing I think we need to work upon on a central, state and another level. One more point of observation, as we've seen recently in news, is treatment of women as a separate constituency in elections, right? We all have seen those Mahila Samman Yojanas and other schemes that hand out credit for financial stability of women. So we are seeing a change in the pattern, the way women are treated in political participation.
So probably adding to your Mahila Samman point, I would like to draw attention of our listeners and viewers to the point that when you see women growing as a elector base, which was probably more in recent times because of the growing
Yeah.
education, literacy rate and stuff, you see safety come along with it, because whenever you talk about safety, the entire focus is on how women's safety is viewed.
Yeah.
When you talk about MSMEs in a lot of states and areas, it is mostly targeted on how women and self-help groups financing.
Yeah.
That is how even microfinancing is largely based on helping the women. And as you mentioned, the schemes of credits and just money in general, may it be a very small or minuscule amount, but
Yeah.
it still accounts for something. And we have seen the effect of these schemes on local elections as well as national elections in the previous year as well. So I think it is something that we as women in general and electors on a broader perspective should focus on.
Yeah, so that is what it is. Like, you know, if you analyze the rise of women to political power, not just by a 33% reservation bill, but by actual roots, by as electors, when women take spaces as electors, you see that all of these matters. There is not just a rise of women in politics. With women comes a multiplicity of factors that are now a part of political discourse. See, you see women participation rising, you start to question security laws. Are they safe in their workplaces? If they are going out, do they have the freedom to vote? Do they have the freedom to stay outside for long hours as men do? That directly questions the policing capabilities of the state. And environment is traditionally been a topic that is intertwined with women existence. Very good example that you might have studied is the Chipko movements. You see, when women take initiatives, the politics runs around them. So this new trend in elections, I think, needs to be talked about.
And one more thing for
Yeah.
our listeners, if anybody wants to discover more about how Chipko and women are related, there is a separate field known as ecofeminism that exists,
Yes.
where we talk about how environment and feminism can go hand in hand. So if anybody wants to check it out, you have a lot of resources available on the internet. You can. And I totally agree, because women are the uh, population that are facing issues such as health issues, because they don't have gas cylinders and have to
Of
cook on
course.
wood fire.
Yeah.
They are the people, if there is a water shortage, or if there are not clean drinking water sources available, they are the people who have to travel to kilometers and kilometers to get that water.
Yeah.
So I think that, as not making it a feminist point only, men, you are also affected by climate change.
Of
But
course.
in general, posing this idea that with the growth of feminine constituency in our country,
Yeah.
the topic of pollution and climate change in general should also rise up.
So this is the point of discussion. Why we're bringing women into the question is not only because they are now being recognized as a separate constituency, but the point being that a lot of our public service delivery schemes, right, the ones that we've been infamously heard about, like Ujjwala Yojana, right, and the Anganwadi schemes in which you get a midday meal, they're all women centric. You have to realize that the public service delivery is very, very closely tied with the rise of female autonomy in this elections. So I think with this conversation, we would just urge more and more women to turn out to the elections, actually cast your vote. The election rights that were given to you in 1919 might have been a trial run, but I think now we're empowered enough to make our own decisions. And if not who, then who, right? So, and men equally, please exercise your voting rights. Do not feel disassociated with your own country's politics. Please take part in it.
To add to this point, I think money has always been associated as a male dominated space.
Exactly.
So I think that is changing a bit as well, with more power to women. But yeah, we do not disagree on the fact that although there are a lot of women electors, there are not a lot of women representatives in the parliament.
Yes.
And that is a separate discussion topic, I would say.
So we do, because we are women living in 21st centuries, we do have tendencies to take every conversation from a feminine note. That's just how we exist. But actually a bigger factor in the central or general elections, as we witnessed in 2024, has been that the Indian electorate has voted on basis of religion and caste. This has been a theme existing from as long as I think the independent nation of India has existed. We always tend to choose on our ascriptive identities, as I can say, right? Religion and caste are always things that kind of turn our elections in a certain way. What we are trying to urge through this video is actually for our Gen Z strength, for the youth of this country, for the demographic dividend that the government of India boasts about, for this demographic dividend to not just be a statistic, to be actual physical tangible electors that shape the policies. Because again, as B.R. Ambedkar always said, that this is India is a country that is a society centric country, right? So if we as youth do not take advances in that field, I don't think policies can be centered around us. So
Yeah, so with the topic of youth, I want to mention a very important point that we consider for elections should be more boasted about is actually what we started the video with is education,
Yeah,
because we are sitting in a higher education center today talking about these issues only because we are educated
exactly.
or we are in the process of getting
Educated.
educated. There is no end of knowledge. But a person who might not have studied a lot or who might not have gotten the best quality education might not talk about or think about these things because constraint of resources.
Yeah,
And as governments are across the country, I urge every political party, all the oppositions in all the states, and especially the electors to actually pose this issue as one of the election points so that you might get an IIT in your constituency maybe next year or next 5 years or next 10 years, because it is going to improve the future of not just the country but your families as well. So this is, I think, a very important issue that has been sidelined for generations. And I would take the example of countries like Japan or South Korea,
Yeah.
who have heavily invested in their education. A country with practically no resources available, they are now like the fourth largest economy and doing so well, global recognition of culture. So it's a thing that will help you grow, right?
exactly. And see, so as you and we all have heard that maxim everywhere, yatha raja tatha praja types things, right? Basically, how you will work as a constituency, as people who get to choose your leaders. This is exactly what's going to create your future. If you want caste riots, people are going to give you caste riots. But if you want development, if you want education, make those matters a part of election. Even if once in 5 years your representatives are listening to you, they're going to listen to the things that you talk about in terms of development, in terms of education, in terms of resources availability, in terms of working for the marginalized section. So these are the things that we need to voice it out, and it is that simple. The more you talk about it, the more echo it creates.
Okay, so taking from the point of marginalized section, although this was not discussed in our pre-discussion that we have before every video, I think that caste politics is not completely redundant or it is completely anti-national, as some might think that it is bad for the country's politics. Caste politics is good because there are a lot of people belonging to certain castes who are not uplifted enough.
Yeah,
But caste politics becomes an evil where it is overriding the good of the greater humanity.
yeah,
So if you are voting for a caste and you belong to a community that is filthy rich, that might create an issue that okay, you are associating yourself to an identity.
Yeah.
But if you are voting for a caste knowing the fact that it's only your people that are helping you out, then it might be a good thing, because as we also know that only we understand our problems the best.
yeah, of course. So the whole elections thing that happens in India, again, it is the greatest festival of democracy because like billions and billions of people are actually choosing their own leaders, which coming from a country which was colonized is a big deal. Okay, we were born as a democracy. Take pride in that, and please exercise your rights to vote. Be an active participant. We can't afford to be America in the sense that we don't take interest in our domestic politics. We can't just assume Mera Bharat Mahan and then do whatever we do in our regular lives. We have to strive and make it Mahan.
Okay, so Mera Bharat Mahan, definitely. Taking from what Vajpayee ji had said that भारत एक भूमि का टुकड़ा नहीं है, ये एक जीता जाता राष्ट्र पुरुष है.
Exactly.
इस राष्ट्र पुरुष को जीवित रखने के लिए आप सबके मतदान की आवश्यकता है. और इस दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के कैंपस से हम दोनों आपसे निवेदन करेंगे कि कृपया अपने राइट्स एक्सरसाइज करें और इस राष्ट्र पुरुष को ज़िंदा रखें, क्योंकि काफ़ी लोगों ने खून बहाया है और वेस्ट तो हम करते नहीं, हमारी संस्कृति में नहीं है, बिल्कुल भी वेस्टेज नहीं होती. सो कैरिंग फॉरवर्ड दिस लेगेसी ऑफ नो वेस्ट, आई थिंक दैट the sacrifices, the greatest sacrifices that have been made in name of this country shouldn't go in vain. And I think that is the purpose of this video as well.
Yeah, so that is precisely what we wanted to address, that India as a nation is shifting its political standing, both geopolitical and democratic political standing. And so, as Gen Z electors who are as proud as a witty remark by our external affairs minister, we reshare it, we do everything. So, let us also be so proud of our function of democracy. Let us be so proud and let us put those topics forward which we actually want to see in our country, because you are the elector, you have the power, and if you wish it, you would get it.
And Election Commission, if you want to take this video as the sample to motivate more electors,
We are more than happy.
more than happy. Just to give you a summary of everything we talked about, please explore your local issues that you want to vote
for,
on.
yeah.
It can be beyond religion, caste, language, region. It can be about women's safety, men's safety, cleanliness, climate change, education, healthcare. Plethora of things are available. You choose your favorite topic, choose your political party, but we as a country need to move beyond our traditional voting
Exactly.
grounds.
Make, you know, I can't say make America great again, because India was always a great land and will always remain the great land, provided that we take initiative to make sure that it is the great land. And with that, I think we're gonna submit this video to you. Thank you so much for hearing, if you're still here till now.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Bye bye.
Bye bye.